we have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Just finished class.
Yeah, how was homeschool?
It was good. I watched my conception video in sex ed today.
You mean your birth video?
You watched your parents' sex tape? It wasn't even my dad.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Just days after Kansas ousted football coach Les Miles amid allegations of inappropriate behavior towards female students while he was the head coach at LSU in the Southeastern Conference, the University of Kansas announced Wednesday that Jeff Long, the athletic director, was stepping down. Long hired Miles as KU's coach in 2018. The two have a long-standing relationship that goes back to their days at Michigan in the late 80s and early 90s. In a statement, Long said he and Kansas Chancellor Dr. Douglas Garrard met on Tuesday night and agreed that it was in the best interest of the KU student-athletes in the program that Long stepped down as athletic director. Long said he leaves KU with profound confidence that I have always acted in the best interest of Kansas athletics. Except for that whole hiring Dirty Les Miles thing. March Madness continues as the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten tournaments get roaring today. Let's start off in the Atlantic Coast Conference at noon. Syracuse versus number 16 Virginia. All of these games will be on the ESPN family of networks. Following the Virginia game at 2:30, Miami takes on Georgia Tech, and at 6:30, the 10th seed Duke Blue Devils continue their Cinderella run against number 15 Florida State. That game will be followed by Virginia Tech, ranked number 22 in the country, at 9 p.m. Eastern. In the Southeastern Conference from Nashville, Tennessee, Mississippi State takes on Kentucky at noon, followed by Vanderbilt versus Florida at 2 p.m. Eastern. 7 o'clock Eastern, it's Georgia versus Missouri, and at 9 o'clock, you got South Carolina against the Ole Miss Rebels. All of those games will be on the SEC network. On the Big Ten network at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, you've got Michigan State versus Maryland. The Spartans need a win desperately to remain on the bubble. Minnesota takes on number 9 Ohio State at 2 o'clock, and at 6:30, Indiana versus Rutgers, followed by Wisconsin at 9 p.m. Eastern. Over on FS1, the Big East tournament continues. At noon Eastern, it's Georgetown versus number 14 Villanova. Seton Hall takes on St. John's at 3 o'clock Eastern. Butler versus number 17 Creighton at 6 Eastern. And at 9 o'clock, the UConn Huskies take the court. And the Big 12, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, it's number 12 Oklahoma State versus number 10 West Virginia. Should be a great one. 2:30 Eastern has number 2 Baylor versus K-State. Kansas plays at 6:30 in the Battle of Texas. The Red Raiders versus the Longhorns is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Thursdays are a lot more meaningful when we have some relevant golf. Here's to everyone getting their work done early today.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We got the TPC starting today. Florida State and Florida are going to be in action in the SEC and ACC tournament. Joey Areola joins us, and we got a hell of a lot to get into and a little time to do it. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Look, if you're the Mexican Mac O'Grady, you got to figure out why I'm still shaking the ball. You know. Now, what's the problem? I'm catching on the hosel, right? Yeah, right. Moving my head. Yeah. I'm laying it off. Well, that too. I'm pronating. When you're not supinating. I'm clearing too early. I'm clearing too late. My God, my swing feels like an unfolding lawn chair. All right. Take out your change and put it in your left-hand pocket. Go on, do it, Roy. Tie your left shoe in a double knot. Turn your hand around backwards. Turn your hand around. Do it, Roy. Now take this tee and stick it behind your left ear. I look like a fool. What the hell do you think you look like shooting them chili peppers up Lee Jansen's ass? Well, what next? I should recommend that you work on your short game, but I think you ought to get drunk. Get drunk? You always play better when you're wasted. Here's to the finely tuned athlete on the verge of greatness.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee sitting alongside Justin Waller. Justin, how the hell are you on this beautiful TPC morning?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to harness my inner tin cup myself.
We've got the TPC that's going to take off here. We're going to get into that in the very next segment. Noon Eastern is when the coverage will begin on the Golf Channel, and they're actually going to take it for 6 hours. So I am looking forward to that, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Before we get into anything else, I thought it was enormous news yesterday to get the National Hockey League back into the mainstream. Disney signs a 7-year deal with the NHL to start covering their games, broadcasting their games, and they're going to have access to 4 of the next 7 Stanley Cup finals, obviously this year not counting, as they end their agreement with NBC. Justin, are you excited about this? It means if it's on Disney, that means it's going to be available on all the ESPNs. It's going to be available. I would think in some right it'll be available on the Disney app probably. What say you?
There's parts of me that are really excited about it for availability and accessibility. I think it'll be a great thing. Let's just face it, not a lot of us have NBC Sports subscription packages, so we don't tune in and see all the alternates that they offer. It's just not something that a lot of fans dive into. So I think by NBC stepping out of the sports world, we knew that some player would come in and scoop this up, and I think ESPN and Disney have the network and platforms to do it. So I'm excited about that. I think it'll put some cup finals back on regular TV and keep them off of the cable network. I think that they will look to put a couple of these on probably ABC. And NBC just never really did that. They would do some primetime games in the afternoon, and they were always competing against other events, but they never really plugged them in on the main prime nights, and it was always on NBC Sports Network. So you hope that going into this that maybe they strategically push a little bit, especially the big marquee matchups to ABC and the primetime networks.
You know, one of the things I also thought about too when I saw this news break is that could ESPN/Disney, could they slowly but surely be focusing their attention away from the NBA when that deal ends? I think it still has 3 or 4 years on it. If the NBA's viewership continues to decline, and as long as LeBron James is in the league, I think it will ESPN hold the NBA over the barrel and say, look, if you want us to continue to broadcast your sport, you're going to have to drop the price. And and let's say they don't, let's say they say, screw that, we're going to go with whoever, Fox Sports, you name it. That would mean that the quote unquote worldwide leader of sports would essentially be ending their relationship with the NBA in the next few years. And if that were to happen, you would change the entire landscape of what ESPN is known for, because that's pretty much all they do nowadays. If you turn on ESPN right now, they are either talking about the National Basketball Association or the NFL, and that's it. They'll sprinkle in some college football here and there. During this time of year, they will get into some March Madness. But even right now, as I've got it on their major network, we're in the middle of March Madness. The TPC's rolling, getting started here in just a few hours. And what are they leading off with? The rumors about Russell Wilson and what he may or may not want to do. It could change the entire landscape of ESPN.
And hopefully it does it for the better. Because like I said, to the college, once they made the networks and you had the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, everybody affiliated off, it's especially with the SEC network being an ESPN affiliate, it all kicks to it. So it really limits on the 4-letter mothership what you see in coverage. So I'll be excited to see some hockey. I just hope that Disney stays out of it. I've seen Disney on ice, and I prefer not see that in my NHL.
Well, and the other thing would happen is they would have to change their. I'm sorry to tell these people who are currently getting paid a ridiculous amount of money to sit there and talk about the NBA and NFL, but they're going to lose some heads quick, because let's say they transition from the NBA and just focus on the NHL outside the NFL, right? People like Dominic Foxworth better find another gig, man, or he better start boning up on some NHL quick, because if I was an ESPN employee, the first thing that I would have done this morning is started taking some kind of an NHL class from if Barry Melrose will give it to me, whoever will give it to me, I'm going to be saying, look, I need to learn as much as I can, because a year from now, this is going to be on our network all the time, and I don't want to sound like a fool. So that I just think long-term, it could be good for the world of sports, because you don't tend to have you had some of the silliness because you got Canadian teams, but you don't have as much as the political crap that comes along with the NBA. And so I look forward to seeing what the NHL can be brought back to ESPN. It hasn't been with the ESPN in about 15 years. It was after they did that strike, that elongated strike, that ESPN realized that they were getting just as good a viewership off of things that they weren't paying big time money for. Like they were comparing their viewership with I remember specifically at that time, the World Series of Poker, which at the time was a hot thing to put on TV. They were getting just as good a viewership putting that up as they were the NHL. And that's why they didn't, re-sign them. So now NHL has a chance to also change its brand and bring fans into the fold that are not typically hockey fans. And so I think it's good across the board for the sport and hopefully for the sports world, because the more and more, Allen Robinson tweeted out this morning something to the effect of, I guess he was watching one of the college basketball tournaments, and he said, NBA basketball is way better than college basketball by far. And I'm like, Allen Robinson, if you don't get why people love college basketball, you just don't get it. Yeah, the product in the National Basketball Association is better. We get that. But the emotions of this time of year where you're one and done March Madness, that can't be duplicated by the NBA. That was kind of a side note, but I found that strange and annoying that he tweeted that out. But anyways, that's why he's still a Chicago Bear. How about that?
That's why you got franchise tagged.
Exactly. You have all your fun watching those terrible Chicago Bulls for the next several years.
With your college quarterback throwing to you.
Exactly. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the TPC. Well, If one of these buttons work, there you go.
Geico knows there are many reasons why you ride. From the exciting adventure of the daily commute to the peace of mind that Geico always has your back with 24/7 access to claim service and legendary customer service. But Pamela Mund had one reason in particular.
My skin is extremely averse to most fabrics, except for the soft, buttery feeling of leather. Thankfully, I found my clan of leather lovers in the biking community. It's been life-changing.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
This year, choose a yogurt that's right for you. With 2 grams of sugar per 5.3-ounce serving, Too Good Greek yogurt is too good to be true. So Delicious dairy-free yogurt and Silk yogurt alternatives are delicious plant-based swaps you can enjoy by the spoon or add to recipes. Oikos 000 yogurt and Light and Fit yogurt are tasty, non-fat yogurt options. So many flavors, varieties, and possibilities. Elevate any recipe and your everyday with yogurt. Shop at Target.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe, the family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
This is Jim Rome. Join me in the jungle for your phone calls and the biggest names in sports. Stop by weekdays, noon until 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific.
Good morning. Welcome back here to CBS Sports. Armchair Quarterbacks, riding shotgun with you. You can also find us on YouTube Live. Check us out as we get into the TPC is here in Jacksonville. Half of us broadcast out of Jacksonville. And Justin, it's not as exciting as it has been in years past because people, well, first of all, they're only letting 20% in. I still think the diehard golf fan around here is excited that it's here. And I, for one, I'm as excited as I normally am because I normally don't get a chance to get down there anyways. And there's no way I could talk my wife into go walking around watching golf on Sunday. So that's kind of out of the bag. And I've got to work the next few days. So I won't be able to make it down there. I want to make it down there again with my buddies. Right. And so hopefully by next year, the year after, maybe we can put something together and we can all go to the TPC, and that would be a lot of fun. But just to have the tournament back, remember last year they played round 1 on Thursday, and this is the anniversary of the whole damn thing falling apart. If we flash back to a year ago today, this morning, you and I were talking about how the NBA was overreacting and shutting down the sport. And then by day's end, almost every single sport had been shut down. Florida
a year later, do you feel any different?
No, I do not. I still think they could have played it. I do feel like this. Knowing what we know now and knowing that they could have gotten those tests as quickly as they did, I think they prematurely shut down, canceled events. I get error on the side of caution and shutting it down the way they shut it down. But I feel like that there is no reason why they couldn't have taken a 2 to 3 week pause on all of these sports, came back with the testing kits, and without fans played the sports and still would have made a lot of money off the television rights. I still believe that to this day. What say you?
Oh, I agree 100%. Looking back a year, I still feel in my gut and heart it was knee-jerk reactions, and I don't think they planned it out or even thought of options. It was just it's canceled. There were ulterior motives, and they succeeded at those, and that was that. And it was unfortunate that us as fans had to endure the spring and summer that the fans had to endure last year. just because of knee-jerk reactions. And I just hope that moving forward that when strand 20, 21, or 22 comes around, which they will. I mean, this one was 19. There was 18 previous strands. So when they come around, I hope that we have learned and we're precautionary and we just don't slap our knees and make reactions based off of political climate. We actually take care of the athletes and the fans that really needed this sitting at home. So that's my big takeaway is all the folks and jobs that got shut down that really needed these sports during those months and didn't have them. And it still infuriates me a little bit. So I'll digress and I'll move on.
And of course, you know, for people who are trying to piece it together in their mind, at this point, a year ago today, we were still expecting to see the SEC and ACC tournament being played. And I think right as we were going off the air, we were getting the news that the Southeastern Conference had canceled. The ACC had not done it yet, but that news would hit about an hour or so later. And the Big East actually geared up and played a couple of games, and then they canceled their tournament. So there you go. But anyways, I remember being super pissed off at first and then just depressed the rest of that day. And we didn't do a show the following day. And Major League Baseball had like 1 or 2 spring training games, and they shut it down after the spring training games. And at the time we were being told it was just going to be a couple of weeks, and we couldn't believe that they were, I mean, it was quick. They knee-jerk reaction and canceled the NCAA tournament quick.
Well, because we were talking, you know, and you still had a couple weeks where we were like, hey guys, we're not even throwing out scenarios of let's try and play these games without fans in the stands and just limit the staff there. I mean, it was just a one and done cancellation for all, one policy fed every scenario, and that was the option.
I think one thing that what was learned, Justin, not to cut you off, but one thing that was learned is to not hitch your wagon to the NBA star, because they made incredibly bad decisions all summer long. And they started the whole shut it down thing, and everyone just followed suit because they felt pressure because it was the NBA. And I think that's one thing that might have come from this, is that down the road, if something similar like this happens, let's say 5-10 years from now or whatever, I don't think the rest of the sporting world is going to be so quick to just follow the leader. I think they're going to make their own decisions at their own time. So the saddest part about the whole thing is those kids, those college kids, screw the professional athletes who missed, 100 games of baseball and, how many games of basketball and hockey or whatever. It was those college kids that their senior years or their final year, or even if it was their freshman year and they're only going to play 2 or 3, that season was stolen from them. Not just the basketball teams, but they stole it from the college baseball and the college softball and anything that got played in the spring. It was ripped away from them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where my uproar with all of it, and I'll lump the high school and middle schoolers in there as well. It's really been sad to see, and I live in the mid-state in Tennessee. Most of you know that. I'm not in the Jacksonville area, but we've been open, similar to you, but it's really weird how this state is comprised of 95 counties, and you have 95 different school systems doing 95 different things with sports. It's crazy how friends that live 5 miles away, their kids cannot have sports for the past year, while we are fortunate enough to be in a county that can. I hate that it happened all across the country for all these kids. And that will be my biggest takeaway and biggest memory of all of it, is the year lost for all of those student athletes.
Amen to that. We do have the TPC starting, and so let's go ahead and get into the TPC's tee times, as they are actually getting underway. They got underway about an hour or so ago. Some of the lesser names, and then you do have some big names sprinkled in. Phil Mickelson teed off at 7:07 a.m. So he'll pretty much be done by the time the broadcast begins. So what I want to focus on are the guys that are going to be playing when you get to the broadcast at noon Eastern. And so looking at, so Phil Mickelson is one of him, and Tony Finau are two of the bigger names that play early in the morning. Keegan Bradley, I guess you can throw him in there as a bigger name. But a lot of the others are either older guys. By the way, I saw a statistic the other day. Monday morning marked the first time something happened in golf since 1993. Can you guess what that is?
No clue.
It was the first time that Phil Mickelson was not ranked in the top 100 in the world. He began his streak sometime in 1993, and he fell to, I think, 101 in the world, 101 or 102, something like that. And I was like, that sounds about right. And then I got to think, I was like, dude, that's 28 freaking years, man, for this guy. You know, not even Tiger Woods did that, because Tiger Woods has had the injuries. So it's not just playing good golf, but you have to endure injuries and whatnot. So that's an incredible run. Bryson DeChambeau tees off at 1 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that. Dustin Johnson, he's and Colin Morikawa. They're all in the same group. So that should be a fun group to watch. Patrick Reed, Jordan Smith, and John Rahm tee off at 12:49. What tee times, or what guys have your eye this weekend?
I mean, DJ's obviously got my eyes there, and I'm really watching that group that he's in with DeChambeau and Morikawa today. Even throw Zach Johnson in that mix as well. And then the group that tees off right before him. I mean, those are going to be the main two, the 12:49 and the 1 o'clock tee off, or the two that I'm truly want to make sure I'm locked in by that this afternoon. Out of this morning, just watching some of the guys, well, I guess we'll see highlights. We're not going to be able to see it unless you subscribe to the I believe it's the NBC Sports Gold. I think they're showing every shot today of today's round if you are a member of their package. And I'm sitting here scratching my head being like, hey, man, you just lost the NHL. You got 1 year left. Why don't you stop the bleeding and open that up and actually get some eyes on your TV sets today? But that's all right. Wait till noon. Wait till noon, and we'll watch the Golf Channel where you don't get the revenue. That's okay. Exactly. Good thinking there, buddy.
Exactly. I mean, I'll just wait till – I'm not that worried about seeing every single shot, but by someone. I'll just follow the Golf Channel. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. What I'm curious to see, what is your win, place, and show this weekend?
I'm going to take DJ for the win.
Okay.
He's going to be a big one. And then place and show, I'm going to go a little off the record here. I'm going to go give me Tony Finau. And I'll go Ricky Fowler for my show.
When is he teeing off? I was trying to find his
Fowler's 8:13.
Oh, okay. That's why I can't see.
Finau is around him, but I can't remember if it's before or slightly after. I know he's a morning tee time.
Gotcha.
I want to go with the big names. Every time I do that, I strike out. So DJ is going to be my top of the leaderboard, and then I'll dip down a little bit and see if I can't get lucky.
Okay, so I'm going to go with my win is going to be DeChambeau. My place is going to be John Rahm. And I was on the fence, went back and forth, but I think I'm going to sorry, my win is DeChambeau. My place is John Rahm. And I think my show, my number 3 guy, I think I'm going to go with Colin Morikawa. I think I'm going to take a stab at him. There was a guy I was looking at last night, and I don't see his name on the board. I'll have to look it up later on. But this one guy's come out of nowhere. I'd never heard his name, and I watched it it was pretty late last night. One of those things where you couldn't sleep for like 15 minutes. You roll over and you kind of stare at the TV. But I don't see his name. I'll try to find it during the break. But the guy's like had a meteoric rise over the last year and a half. and had a pretty cool story, but I don't see his name on here, so it makes me wonder if he's even playing in the TPC, if I was watching some crap from the European channel or something. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a break because we got Joey Ariola on the way, and we got a lot to get into. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks Radio Show, YouTube Live and CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, can I tell you one thing? That's 3 holding penalties on one football team in a quarter and a half. That ain't funny.
Hi, this is Justin Waller of the Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
New Year's resolutions. We've all made them. Mine is the same every year. Eat healthier. The eat part usually works out fine. It's the healthier part I forget about. But not anymore, now that I've found the oh-so-chocolatey Built Bar. Built Bars are low-cal, low-sugar, high-protein, high-fiber. Great for keto. Lose or maintain weight while indulging in a yummy treat. At 130 calories, you'll feel like making a resolution every day. Try all 18 amazing flavors. Get yours at BuiltBar.com.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
CBS Sports Radio, your home for all things sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, coast to coast. Great sports talk expected here. CBS Sports Radio.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com. Use promo code LISTEN for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, promo code LISTEN.
Oh, wow, I'm pretty sure that's going to be there it is. Another flag on the play.
Multiple flags on the play. Holding. Offense number 97. That penalty was declined. Touchdown. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense number 22. Penalty will be applied to the kickoff.
This is going to be one of the strangest calls.
That son of a... You playing against Dick this week?
Yeah.
Could be worse, man. When I played against him, he ejected all my players.
What?
Armchair.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm sorry, excuse me 1 second. Hello?
Hi, would you be interested in switching over to TMI long distance service?
Oh, gee, I can't talk right now. Why don't you give me your home number and I'll call you later?
Well, I'm sorry. We're not allowed to do that.
Oh, I guess you don't want people calling you at home.
No.
Well, now you know how I feel.
Kind of like this small town. They ain't changed a bit, nothing better than this.
Good morning. Welcome back here to CBS Sports Radio. Armchair Quarterbacks. And joining us is Mr. Joey Ariola. Joey, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. Hey, Justin, how we doing? And, a lot to talk about. Sports are getting, fully ramped up. To me, when football games aren't being played, this is the best time of year. You got March Madness coming. You got baseball around the corner, and basketball and hockey are in full swing. So let's get this thing going. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, looking at the tournaments going on, and we had some scares earlier in the week. Gonzaga is now chasing history. They're trying to be the first team in a long, long time to go undefeated and win the national championship. Before we get into the conference tournaments, either one of y'all think that Gonzaga is going to go all the way? Justin, start with you.
And win the entire tournament? No.
Yeah, because they've already won their conference tournament. They had a scare against BYU. They ended up winning by 10. But do you think that they're going to cut down the nets, as they say in Indianapolis?
I don't think so. I can't break down as to what system or scheme is going to come in and upset them, but I'm just going to take the conference that they play in and the competition and stack that up against some of these others. And I think you're going to have a Big Ten or an ACC school or someone go on a run that maybe they haven't been in the highlight all year because they've been getting beat up by other teams, but they've played the better competition and have the face more adversity because it's like you said, BYU put a pretty good scare in them. They had them down 12 at the half, and it wasn't until about 2 minutes left to go in the game that Gonzaga got the lead and then just pulled it away.
Now, I will say this in their defense, BYU's a really good team as well, but I get what you're saying. Joey, what say you?
I mean, yeah, that game was fun to watch the other day, and I don't know. It's always hard for me until I actually see a bracket and kind of pick where I want to put my upsets, But I think they'll make a pretty deep run. I don't think they'll be cutting down the nets, but they have done a lot of good things this regular season, and I'm just not one for always picking. I don't know. I never see Gonzaga as the flashy squad, but I could see them making a Final Four run for sure. I just don't see them cutting down the nets.
Yeah, and maybe it's just the East Coast bias in me. I don't believe in their competition. I also think there's a lot of really good teams. I'm with you as far as waiting to see what the bracket looks like, but just from a blind look at the bracketology predictions and whatnot, I just think that they're going to run into some issues. And are they weather tested? When they get into a tight spot late in a ball game, they've blown most of their teams out. They have not won these games. This undefeated run they've made, they have not been in many close games. So when they get in a tight spot, 2 minutes left, up one, down one, whatever, will the moment be too big for them? I think they've got the talent, but that's asking a lot when you got these teams that in the Big Ten. We'll just point them out. They've been playing big games all year long, and so they're used to that kind of, your Illinois and your Michigans, Ohio States, Iowa, Michigan State for that matter. These teams are set to take on the big boys and stare them down, stare them right in the face and possibly pull off an upset. And I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it's kind of the David and Goliath mentality, and you have flipped the little David of Gonzaga and this Cinderella story and this program, and you have made them into this David and this undefeated, or Goliath and this undefeated run. Now every game they go into, their opponent is an underdog. Because you have hyped this as their undefeated. They're going to get everyone's best shot. Now, not saying that you're not giving that in the tournament every day, but there's a little something extra when you walk in and you're a Georgia Tech or a Florida State, and you're like, wait a minute, I've grounded out the ACC, or you're a Michigan, and you go into these games and you're like, hold on, I'm the underdog here. So I think it puts a little edge and it puts a target on the back of Gonzaga. And I mean, how dominant has Gonzaga been in the past? Why all of a sudden is this the undefeated run that's going to happen?
I think this.
How long ago has it been since they've been in a championship game?
I think the reason why they're undefeated is because most of your conferences didn't play out of conference games, and so they didn't get tested. Now they did play some games early in the year, and so I will give them the credit for that. But all in all, they didn't have what you would consider. I had it the other day. Let's see if I've got it here. Gonzaga's schedule at the very beginning of the season, they soundly beat a Kansas team that now is playing well, but they were not playing well at the beginning of the season. They beat an overrated Auburn team. Everyone thought Auburn was going to be good this year. Auburn has not been good at all. They did beat West Virginia. That was very beginning of the year. I also believe that was on their home floor too. But after that, they've played a handful or a mountain full of nobodies other than BYU. They were supposed to play Baylor, and that game got canceled. And so that would have been their big litmus test. Now, look, beating Kansas, beating Auburn, beating West Virginia is nothing to sneeze at, but I think all those games were at one of those goofy, early season tournaments. And so it's hard for me to gauge any of those games at the very beginning of the season, especially this season with all the weirdness with the COVID and different programs practiced in different ways and whatnot. So if I went through the entire schedule, I did miss one. Now this is impressive. They did beat Iowa. It looks like they played them in Gonzaga. Doesn't look like that they've played away from their home floor in big games this year, but they did play Iowa at one point. And when they beat Virginia, Virginia was playing really bad basketball. And I'm not sold that Virginia is that great anyways. I said yesterday that I thought Georgia Tech could upset Virginia in the ACC tournament. But their schedule's not as bad as I thought it was. So I'll have to digress a little bit because they did, you can pick and choose whatever you want during an argument, but in theory, they played 4 big programs. So it hasn't been a total whitewash. The tournament's going on today, though. Justin, what are you most excited for today?
Duke, Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm hoping you pull off the win. I'm pulling for the Seminoles, but unfortunately, I want to see a nail biter. I want to see you boys win it on a last second shot. I want some more March Madness, but I hope you get the W today.
I think you're going to
There's something interesting about this Duke run, and me being this, not a lot of people do. I've always, as far as basketball, been a Tar Heel fan. Just kind of grew up that way. Being a Tennessee fan in my youth, the Lady Vols were more dominant than the men's team ever was. So a lot of Tennessee fans are Carolina Hurricanes fans or Carolina Tar Heel fans or ACC schools for that matter. They're not all Tar Heel fans, but just because we needed a relevant basketball conference to pull for. And so that became my love of Carolina. And it's really weird seeing Duke and kind of pulling for him as a Cinderella, as you say.
What's really weird about that statement is that you tend to be an NC State football fan. And so that's really weird that you pull for NC State in one sport, but North Carolina in another sport.
That's just if I'm going to pick an ACC program to go with, I like Carolina. I like State because I just had a lot of friends, alumni of State, hung out a lot around their campus. And what I like about State is when you go in to the Wolfpack, and I don't care what it is, which is one of them venues where weird things happen. You've made mention where it's kind of like a Boston College. They're just one of them schools for certain schools that Florida State struggles in there. Other schools struggle going into Raleigh, and I don't understand why, but it's unique. It makes for good, fun environment. That's just a little bit of symbolism there of why I pull for State.
By the way, Florida plays Vanderbilt at 2:00 today. The SEC tournament gets going. Mississippi State, Kentucky at noon, and then you got Florida, Vanderbilt at 2, Georgia, Missouri after dinner at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then you've got South Carolina, Ole Miss. So not big marquee matchups. I think Florida dodged a bullet not having to play A&M and getting Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt is technically at home, so who knows? Maybe the Commodores can pull off an upset. I doubt it. I think the big surprise run, by the way, in the ACC so far, to hell with Duke. Miami's rattled off 2 wins out of nowhere, and they play a Georgia Tech team that can be got. Now, my prediction was that Georgia Tech's going to get to the ACC title game and maybe even win the damn thing. But Syracuse is a very, very real threat to Virginia at noon Eastern. It's an early game. Syracuse looked very good yesterday. I'm going to have my eyes on the ACC tournament all day long. And I think that late night game, to your point, Justin, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, 9:00 Eastern, that should be a lot of fun as well. Joey, what are you focused on today? Is it the Big Ten tournament up in your land, or is it something else?
I did watch some Big Ten last night since it just kicked off. Penn State had to make a decent comeback versus Nebraska, but that gets more hot and heavy tomorrow when Illinois plays. I'm also looking forward to Duke and Florida State. Obviously, is one of my games, not only with fandom of yourself and then nice hat you're rocking here, but it's interesting. Duke's not usually a 10 seed. We all know that at this time of year, so I'm glad it's at 5:30 for me, so I could see it after work. But other games, I mean, the SEC tournament's hot and heavy today. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about Georgia. I mean, that's a big game for them. They're definitely going to have to me, beat Missouri to, show any credibility. But I would say Duke, Florida State is definitely number one because Duke's got to win to me still. I saw on ESPN's big board last night when I was just roaming the channels that they're on the second list of 4 out still. So it seems like they have to win a game or two more to definitely prove themselves. So I think I'm going all in on the Duke, Florida State.
Yeah, Duke right now is the next 4 out, along with Ole Miss, who plays tonight, Seton Hall and St. John's. I still think Michigan State needs to win today to get into the tournament. I think if they lose to Maryland, it's going to get real sketchy if you get some upsets, some tournaments that don't go chalk, as they say. I think it's going to get really, really sketchy. Same thing with Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech really needs to get a W today. Now, they've got a pretty decent resume, and they'll probably get in, but I think you want to beat Miami and seal the deal if you're a Yellow Jacket fan. Louisville, they have them on the last 4 buys. I don't think they're as secure as people think they are. I think Louisville getting knocked out by Duke last night is a big hit on their resume. And if you get some of these other teams to get hot and to get in the tournament, whether they win their conference tournament or not, but at least if they get to the finals, they're going to – I'll give you an example. Syracuse is last 4 in. Louisville is the next tier up. I think Syracuse has a decent chance of jumping Louisville, and Louisville would be looking over their shoulder if a team like Ole Miss or Duke got hot. Let Duke get to the ACC title game. Let's say that they don't win it, but they beat Florida State tonight. And whether they beat, let's say they beat North Carolina tomorrow night. Let's say it's North Carolina Duke in the ACC title game or ACC semis. That's going to get a lot of publicity, national television wise, right? I think that would push Duke past Louisville, especially since they just beat Louisville in the tournament. And so there's some teams that are sitting there. Last 4 buys, last 4 in, first 4 out, next 4 out is how Lenardi sets it up on his brackets. He's usually pretty dead on. He's had some gaffes in the past, but honestly, I just like the way he sets his brackets up. It's easier to read than some of these other knuckleheads that put crap out there.
Everybody wants Duke in at the end of the day. I mean, I
guarantee you CBS wants them.
Exactly. Get your cup of coffee ready too. You brought up Michigan State. That's in 10:30 in the morning. So this was so much fun today. And yeah, like we said, CBS wants Duke. So that's a little scary part for other teams out there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that big time. Some of the other games real quick, and then we're going to dive into something that's been trending in college football. The big games today, the top 25 games today, teams in action. Oklahoma State and West Virginia, number 12 versus number 10 in the country. That's 11:30 Eastern on ESPN. Georgetown, Villanova. Villanova needs a W. They don't want to take a loss against Georgetown. It could really hurt their seeding. The Syracuse game I was just talking about, that game's at noon. Minnesota, Ohio State, I think Ohio State blows them out, so I'm not really worried about that. Same thing with Kansas State, Baylor. I think Baylor takes care of the business, as people say. Other game of interest, Oklahoma plays Kansas at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN2. That should be a good one. Duke, Florida State's at 6:30 on ESPN. North Carolina, Virginia Tech game we just talked about. And there's some Pac-12 games, Pac-12 tournaments going on, but we just don't cover the Pac-12. So it's not of interest to me. And just like I don't know if I really believe in a 25-0 Gonzaga team, I don't know if I believe in a 20-7 Colorado team. So, you're playing out there in the Pac-12. Who the hell knows if you're any good or not? Texas Tech and Texas, though, they're at 9:30 if you're up late. That should be a fun one, too. NBA comes back today, and I hate to tell you NBA fans, but it's going to get overshadowed by March Madness, no matter what Allen Robinson says. College football. So this came out earlier in the week. We haven't really had a chance to get into it. I thought it would be a good topic to get to because there's a story out there where a high school football coach is basically diming out specifically Georgia and Alabama in paying players. Justin, I'll give you the first swing at this. What say you on this story about supposedly, bagmen, as they say, kind of like what happened at University of Tennessee. I don't think it's McDonald's bags, but there's some kind of bags that's going on.
Well, just remember, Jeremy Pruitt is doing the same job he learned from Nick Saban. So it kind of ties with this. This high school coach is Rush Probst. He was the coach of Valdosta State in Georgia. He was at Colquitt County before then, which is a storied program in the state of Georgia. But before that, most notably, he was known from Hoover, Alabama. He was the head coach over there at Hoover. Well, this is leaked audio of a conversation between Rush Probst and the local booster for Valdosta State. Every school has one. It would be the Tribe for probably the Seminole fans. I don't know what you guys call your booster, but it's the booster for the athletic sports. And he is wanting quarterbacks to come in and talking about he needs funny money. And he elaborates about Georgia and Alabama and how they entice players and bring them in, and specifically names Nick Chubb. Now, whether there's any truth in it or not, the investigations are going to be running rampant.
Of course, Nick Chubb denied it.
Well, of course he did. I mean,
Nick Chubb basically said, if that were the case, I wouldn't have went pro, right? So Nick Chubb denies the allegations. Now, that could just be Nick Chubb being a good company man and saying, I'm not going to throw my alma mater on the bus. It's always driven me nuts when these guys get out of college and they did the dirty deed themselves as well, and they'll throw their college under the bus. And I'm like, what? You're kind of a jerk off if you do that, right?
Right. I mean, he has to deny it. If it happened, I would assume. We don't know if there's validity in it or not, but I know 90% of the SEC are like, let's just check into this, guys.
I don't know, but I know one thing. The IRS has been, peeling back Nick Chubb's expenses here recently. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. So, listen, and I find it interesting because you remember the Mark Stoops article at Kentucky when he came out about Jeremy Pruitt and the recruiting violations, and he said, we're not really surprised. They were ruffling some feathers and things were happening awkwardly. Well, we've known this stuff's been going on for years. It sounded like Tennessee just kind of got a little Jeremy Pruitt got a little Ruckshaw. He'd been doing this under other regimes. Funny how he's worked for both of them that are being implicated in this. And also has coaching high school trees to the state of Alabama and Prost, but whatever, it all goes together and could just be very big coincidence. But I'm going to say there's some smoke there somewhere. Now, whether it actually gets uncovered and comes out and you get to bring down the evil empire, have no clue. I don't think it'll get that far.
Now,
I think these guys are smart, and I think these schools protect themselves, and I think a lot of it goes on.
Now, Joey, up in the pristine Big Ten where they do no wrong, what's your take?
I don't know. There's so many messed up things over on this side of town. But to stick with the SEC, I agree with Justin, the fact of, I guess when there's smoke, there could be fire. But I want to let it all play out and see what happens. It's getting hard for me to keep up with all these stories. Les Miles the other day with different. Now we're on to Georgia and Alabama with paying people. And, my thing is on it, I kind of hate to say it, I just kind of assume these things low-key happen and they just go by the wayside. It's just a matter of who wants to come out and try and, tell a story. But I guess I'll wait till it all settles in and see. But I can't see it getting to the point where it impacts them to where they start, I mean, look at when USC got in their trouble. They lose a national championship. I still remember that game. It ain't going from my memory. So I don't know how far these things go and where they will end up. But
hey, buddy, you let me tell an Alabama fan he's only got 16. I'll tell him every single day of his life. No, that 17th one didn't count, buddy.
No, I know what you're saying. I don't know what to say about these things till they unfold and we kind of get, how much trouble they get into. So we'll see.
Well, first of all, it's always dumbfounded me how if these players can be bought and you're talking about dirty money, why the hell is it Northwestern and Chicago a better football program? Because, I mean, with the Chicago mob, can they not get their act together? And why the hell in New York, right? Because you got the New York mob. Why the hell is it St. John's University not the best basketball program in the country? These are the things that I lay awake at night wondering, right? Like, if we got this dirty money, why the hell can't they get their act together? And
they're using the wrong search firm for their athletic directors.
I guess when it's all said and done, they just really don't give a crap, and they would rather, pay said team to shave points. But
it's ugly in Chicago for football. I mean, Northwestern Illinois. The money's not getting there, whatever's happening.
And why isn't Texas better with all their oil money?
I mean, it's a valid point. I don't understand why we're still even discussing paying players.
The Gators are good because of Disney. We know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bang, bang. Shot down two things I hate at the same time. Bang, bang.
Birds with one stone.
I'm going to revisit that with Tony tomorrow.
By the way, if y'all get a chance to watch, there's the Netflix show out there that I came across called Athlete A. Have any of y'all seen this?
I have not.
It is very good. And if you want to see corruption on a sports level, the United States Olympics, the corruption that went on to hide the fact that one of their doctors, his name is Dr. Larry Nasser, who's now currently serving 60 years, two concurrent sentences of 60 years in prison.
This is a gymnast coach at Michigan State.
He eventually went to Michigan State.
That's right, I remember.
But for 29 years, he was with the USOC. And what I did not know about this guy was that he was convicted for molesting hundreds of girls well under the age of 14, 15 years old. And the way that the lengths that the U.S. Olympic Committee went to cover this up is nauseating. There's a girl by the name Maggie something. Anyways, long story short, she was left off the 2016 Olympic team because she was the first whistleblower of Nasser, right? And you might say, well, I don't know if she's that good or not. You know what she went on to do? 2017, her team, she got out of the Olympics and said to hell with that, and she went go compete in college. 2017, she won the national championship with the Oklahoma Sooners, brought them to the national championship. In 2018, she won the individual national championship. In 2019, she defended her title. And she wasn't one of the top 9 gymnasts in America. And they were showing all the statistics leading up to it. This is when I forget the girl's name, but the girl that took America by storm, Simone
Biles.
Yes.
Her and Allie Rasmussen did great, I know.
So she became America's darling. This girl, Maggie Nichols would have been on that team. She was, even battling a knee injury, she was 1 and 2 with Simone the entire summer and the years leading up to it. It's really good. I highly recommend that. And Steve Perry was the name of the guy that, Steve Penny, not Steve Perry, not the guy from Journey. Steve Penny covered the whole damn thing up, and I don't think he's faced criminal charges yet, but they did get Nasser, and then I forget the old lady, but she's makes the decision on who goes, and she's involved in the whole damn thing. It was the Michigan State Police that basically broke the damn thing wide open. So kudos and credit to them. Justin, what's your walk-off for the day, sir?
Steve Perry of Journey did not cover up the Olympic scandal
that we know of. Steve Perry was the bag man.
Yeah. That's all I got on that one, guys. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy this basketball. Can't wait to talk about it tomorrow.
All right, brother.
See you, Justin.
We're going to be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. When we come back, we've got a couple things to get into, including the NBA going to a 4-pointer or a limit on how many 3-pointers you can shoot. God, can you become more unwatchable? You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Just days after Kansas ousted football coach Les Miles amid allegations of inappropriate behavior towards female students while he was the head coach at LSU in the Southeastern Conference, the University of Kansas announced Wednesday that Jeff Long, the athletic director, was stepping down. Long hired Miles as KU's coach in 2018. The two have a long-standing relationship that goes back to their days at Michigan in the late 80s and early 90s. In a statement, Long said he, Kansas Chancellor Dr. Douglas Garrard, met on Tuesday night and agreed that it was in the best interest of the KU student athletes and the program that Long stepped down as athletic director. Long said he leaves KU with profound confidence that I have always acted in the best interest of Kansas athletics. Except for that whole hiring Dirty Les Miles thing. March Madness continues as the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten tournaments get roaring today. Let's start off in the Atlantic Coast Conference at noon. Syracuse versus number 16 Virginia. All of these games will be on the ESPN family of networks. Following the Virginia game at 2:30, Miami takes on Georgia Tech, and at 6:30, the 10th seed Duke Blue Devils continue their Cinderella run against number 15 Florida State. That game will be followed by Virginia Tech, ranked number 22 in the country, at 9 p.m. Eastern. In the Southeastern Conference from Nashville, Tennessee, Mississippi State takes on Kentucky at noon, followed by Vanderbilt versus Florida at 2 p.m. Eastern. 7 o'clock Eastern, it's Georgia versus Missouri. And at 9 o'clock, you got South Carolina against the Ole Miss Rebels. All of those games will be on the SEC network. On the Big Ten network at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, you've got Michigan State versus Maryland. The Spartans need a win desperately to remain on the bubble. Minnesota takes on number 9 Ohio State at 2 o'clock. And at 6:30, Indiana versus Rutgers, followed by Wisconsin at 9 p.m. Eastern. Over on FS1, the Big East tournament continues. At noon Eastern, it's Georgetown versus number 14 Villanova. Seton Hall takes on St. John's at 3 o'clock Eastern. Butler versus number 17 Creighton at 6 Eastern. And at 9 o'clock, the Yukon Huskies take the court. And the Big 12, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, it's number 12 Oklahoma State versus number 10 West Virginia. Should be a great one. 2:30 Eastern has number 2 Baylor versus K-State. Kansas plays at 6:30. In the Battle of Texas, the Red Raiders versus the Longhorns is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
You'll do anything to stay healthy. So isn't it time to think about your water? Aquasana water filters remove contaminants other filters don't, like lead, bacteria, viruses, and pesticides. Up to 99% of 88 contaminants, while leaving vital minerals you need like potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Visit waterfilter.com now and use promo code RADIO to get 50% off. That's waterfilter.com, promo code RADIO for pure, delicious water and the ultimate peace of mind. Aquasana, better water, better you.
The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. We're talking college basketball all the way through March Madness. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. Just text BURN to 323232. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat burning mode. Text BURN to 323232 right now and get 50% off a month of meals and shakes. That's right, 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to help support your immune system. Just text BURN to 323232 right now. There's even a money-back guarantee. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months. Just text BURN to 323232. That's BURN to 323232.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
CBS Sports Radio, your home for all things sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, coast to coast. Great sports talk expected here. CBS Sports Radio.
Are you listening?
Good Thursday morning to you here on CBS Sports Radio. Armchair Quarterbacks. We're on YouTube Live. Joey Ariola joins us every Thursday from 8:30 Eastern to 9:30 Eastern. Make sure to check us out every Thursday. Hell, check us out every damn day. Go to YouTube Live and like and subscribe today. Joey, the NBA comes back tonight from their hiatus from usually it's an all-star weekend, but it was just an all-star day this time. Would not shock me if they went to that in the future, because I guess they would probably still have the slam dunk championship the night before, because you want to kind of make it into a weekend. But when they stretch it out 3 days, I think it's a little obnoxious. The celebrity basketball game, no one watches that damn thing anymore, right? When it was new and it was a novelty, people watched it. Now I don't feel like anybody watches it. I haven't watched it in years. And then they've got what is it normally on that first night they have they call it
changes sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it
Stars.
goes by countries or sometimes by first year, second year.
Right, but it's normally the first and second year players. Sometimes they do it by country, sometimes they do it by conference. But the rising stars.
Friday night's pointless.
I'm surprised more the players don't opt out of that, to be honest with you. If I had a long grind of a season and I'm sitting there and I get off on a Thursday night and I wasn't elected to the All-Star game and I'm not in the 3-point contest or anything like that, I think I'm going to take the whole week off and say to hell with going to a rising star game. I guess they get conned into it because the kids want to go hang out and meet all of the actual NBA All-Stars and they're there. But it would not shock me if they try to morph this into at least a 2-day event. I like the fact that it was all in one night so I could avoid it all together and not have to watch any of it. But that's just me. Who gives a crap if the fourth guy off the bench of the Mavericks wins the slam dunk championship? I still don't know who won the damn thing. Don't care. I don't know who won the 3-point contest. Don't care. If Steph Curry and all and the other big names are not going to be in it, to me, it's not a real contest. And you have to have all of the stars, not just one or two. All the stars have to be in it for it to be a real contest for me. And then the NBA All-Star game itself sucks because no one plays defense. And all I know is that LeBron's team won. If you have a hard time marketing your product, it becomes increasingly harder to market it when you call something Team LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, I like the game itself. I never really have interest in. Friday night, never big interest. Saturday is really where I do watch just, the 3-point and the dunk contest. I do agree. For dunk contest, get LeBron James, do it once in your life. Let's see what you got. That would have been fun, but now he's in his 30s. That's never happening. Steph Curry did get his second championship in the 3-point, and that was pretty star-loaded with the 6 guys they had. But then again, they added a green ball. I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I know we're going to talk 3-point versus 4-point, but there's a lot of things they're trying, and I don't think it's fully working. It's kind of a saturated, similar, the NFL, nobody really watches their Pro Bowl. I feel like the NBA is getting saturated with the way they do things at their
They're trying goofy gimmicks to try to get you to watch is what's happening.
Exactly.
And this is what they're trying to do with the actual sport itself, the NBA regular season. There was an article that came out, I think it was ESPN.com, but I don't remember where I saw it. But a guy came up with the idea of limiting 20 3-point attempts per game until 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So until halfway through the fourth quarter. Now that sounds like a lot, but it is not in today's basketball. They pretty much just sit behind the 3-point line and just chuck it. And so his point to it was it would be more strategic. You wouldn't just chuck it to chuck it. You would be shooting the 3-point shot because you were open and it was one of your better shooters. I get that. I still think it sounds very gimmicky to me. In anything that you have to put that big of a gimmick on, I don't like it. The NBA painted themselves in the corner. Basketball painted themselves into a corner because when they brought in the 3-point line, I think the NBA did it in 1979. I think college basketball waited a few years later. I want to say college basketball by 85, I think it was there. It might have happened a year or two before that. But they were essentially 5 years behind the NBA bringing 3-point line. When they came up with the 3-point line, no one ever thought in their wildest dreams that the game would evolve into them everyone just standing behind the 3-point line. I would say if I was going to do anything, I'd get rid of the 3-point play, the 3-point line, because then the game would go back to what it was originally intended, which was the point is to get closer to the basket. When you made a shot worth 1.5 or 150% worth the same amount of points as a closer shot, getting good at that 3-point shot became key, because now if you can get 3 points every time you come up the court and your opponent's only getting 2, you're going to blow them out, right? They painted themselves in the corner because I don't think they ever thought. And the problem with it was this: when they created that 3-point shot over the years, for the last 25 to 30 years, they slowly took away defense. And so you can't hand check a guy. You can't do a lot of things that used to make a 3-point shot very, very difficult. So if you're not going to let them play defense, and I'm talking about tough defense, then I think you either get rid of the 3-point shot altogether, or you move it a hell of a lot farther back. What say you?
Yeah, and I remember as a kid, it's kind of starting with the Phoenix Suns, the D'Antoni teams back in the day, where they would just run up and down the court, accelerate things, and have a lot of shooters on the outside with Nash. Then you got the Warriors era. It's interesting you bring up eliminating it, because I listen to NBA radio on XM a decent amount on my way home from work, and they were kind of talking about, well, will it ever revert back? Once the Splash Bros and all that, they got their threes, everyone started to try and get the next best shooter, and they're like, is one team one day going to start moving inside that 3-point line again, trying to beat you up? But as you said, it's hard with the rules, like kind of similar to the NFL with the increase in offense and people trying to model the Chiefs now. Sticking with basketball, it's just hard to play the old school grind and, with the Detroit Pistons bad boys, and then they eased up how we talked about last week with Jordan all the way to now. It isn't easy to physically dominate someone. You don't really see the defense into the playoffs. So I don't know. I go back and forth. I'm not saying I want it to be eliminated, but I don't also like the limiting, 3-pointers. It's like if you're trying
that to me is just it's too gimmicky.
It is like what? So in baseball, if homers are all of a sudden going through the roof, you guys can only hit 5 homers. You're putting too much in a player's head. Let them play the game that they grew up and know how to play. They screwed up the NBA.
I think the simplest thing to do, maybe move the line back a little bit, but I think the simplest thing to do would to be allow defense. Yes. They've not played defense in the National Basketball Association since the mid-90s.
Amen.
Let them play defense. If you let them play defense, these 3-point shots are not going to be going in. And if you let them play defense, there's going to be a reward for getting closer to the hole because you've got someone in your face. Steph Curry, as good of a shooter as he is, I don't respect him the way I respect players that played 30 years ago because he doesn't get defended. He doesn't get guarded. All you can legally do is put your hand near his face.
Well, and that's the thing that this really bothers me, and this is one of my ticking points in the NBA. I watch a Bulls game. I'm having a good time. We're getting to the last minute. Even if the guy shoots, you run past him, a whiff of connection, even if the offensive player makes the contact, foul, 3 shots.
Right.
That's got to go. It's too much.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've got to let them play defense. And I also, to that point, they do this in college basketball too. I do not like one bit the reviews in basketball. It's too much. It kills the flow of the game. Just deal with the fact that these refs are human. There was one last night. It was the tail end of the Oklahoma-Iowa State game, and they paused it for about 3 to 4 minutes to look at something that you could tell from the first glance of the video, it should just be let go, right? It was 2 guys inadvertent contact, just let it go. It took them 3 to 4 minutes to agree to that. And that was fast. A lot of the times they get under the hood, especially in the NBA. NBA is the worst. They get under the hood looking at it, so to speak, and it's 10 minutes sometimes. You kill the entire flow of what's going on in the game to get one game right in a sport that has so much damn scoring. So when you stop a football game to review something, if it was a fumble, that's a big deal. When you stop a basketball game to see if a guy may or may not gotten fouled midway through the first half, that is not a big deal, and it's not worth slowing down the tempo and ruining the game. And this March Madness will be the first one we get where it's going to be on display because they made the big rule changes last year, and it kind of went under the radar because we never got the March Madness. So not a lot of people other than, sports holics like me watch regular season basketball. Wait until this March Madness and see how that affects, the game, the flow of the game. The other thing was talked about was a 4-point play of like somewhere like around half court. That's MTV. That's MTV Raps basketball challenge to me. That's as gimmicky as it gets. Remember when they used to have their well, hell, this probably predates you, but they used to have a basketball game somewhere around the All-Star break, and they would have goofy things like if you stood in the green circle near half court and got that shot, it was worth 10 points. I mean, you're getting really goofy if you get to that point.
I agree 100%. You can't keep going backward. Let's get back to the old school if possible.
Let them play basketball. I think if you would just let them play the sport, you would also get people to love it more. The sport was so much better when they were allowed to play defense and allowed contact.
Please bring it back.
Blake Griffin to the net. Your thoughts?
It's funny. A guy who has all those dunk contests we watched growing up, he hasn't dunked in so many games. I think if he just fits his role and, doesn't have a big, maybe 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of just hustling, that will help because they don't really have big guys. But it's not moving the needle too much for me. I think the East is weak and Brooklyn's going to be there if healthy, regardless, in the final couple of teams. So, I mean, if they had him and Andre Drummond, then you're talking, a lot of big scoring star power.
I think it puts pressure on Milwaukee to do something.
It definitely does. Milwaukee, we all know their underperformances when it comes down to playoffs, and Giannis signed that big contract, and they did bring on Holiday, but it's going to put pressure on the rest of the East, who's already down. Boston has talent, but they haven't seemed to fully pull it together. Toronto is now down from their glory days with Kawhi, so a lot, and Nets are doing the right things to me, but they're still going to have to play together at the end of the day and stay healthy. We haven't seen Durant in a while, so that will be interesting. But
I have all but given up on the Boston Celtics. Danny Ainge won't make a move. He won't. He's too damn worried about keeping his stupid draft picks from now until the cows come home. And until I see him actually push his chips in and say, I want to win, I've given up on the Celtics. I just have. I'm just like, to hell with it. Baseball's almost here. I'm not watching anymore. Look, when the playoffs start, I'll still pull for them, but I'm not watching anymore. And that's the only NBA basketball I realistically watch live. I'll catch the highlights on the other junk, but I don't watch regular season basketball unless the Celtics are involved. I'm done with it, man. We've gotten to March Madness, and when March Madness is over, I've got baseball every day. I'm not going to sit there and watch the Celtics try to play the ultimate kind of basketball that I hate. No big men. They're all just standing behind the arc and just going, I'm open. Yeah, you all think you're open. Christ, you got 5 guys just around the circle. If one guy would cut to the basket, it would be an easy layup.
When the Lopez brothers, Brooke and Robin, keep shooting threes, I'm out. I can't stand it's the ugliest. Like, I don't care. Like you said, when
I read an article yesterday about LaMarcus Aldridge going to get dealt one way or the other out of San Antonio.
Chicago is a possible destination.
And people are talking about if he can develop a 3. I'm like, how about he play the damn game he was born to play? He's a big man. Take it to the damn hole. Ugh. Moving on from that, the TPC. The coverage begins at noon Eastern, so we're 2.5 hours away, essentially.
Man, this is loaded.
It's a well, it is I know you're not from this area, but it is always looked upon as the 5th major of golf. It has a big
got some
purse.
interest.
It's a big purse, and it's always been that way because for years and years and years, it was played at this time of year. It just recently went back to this, and the big boys looked upon it as the closest thing to Augusta. And so they would play this to try to get themselves ramped up to get ready for the Masters, right? I can't wait for Masters Week, man. Woke 2021. Wait till they tear that word apart. You can't call it the Masters. Anyways.
Oh, please. Oh, man.
I saw some TikTok the other day where some chick was saying the Masters bedroom was racist, and then some dude busted her down and said, basically, if you Google it, the term wasn't used till 1926, long after what she was trying to draw a line to.
They're going to start canceling themselves.
I guarantee you, the Masters gets freaking cancel culture. Are you kidding me? It's in Georgia. There's no way in hell that blue state is not going to cancel culture the name the Masters. But anyways, I can't wait for CBS to say, you're watching the Georgia golf tournament. So I gave my win place and show earlier. I'm going with DeChambeau to win, Rahm to come in second, and Colin Morikawa to come in third. What say you on your win place and show?
I'm going to go, I find my guy, whenever I go into my account to see who I want to, place a little wager on here, I always seem to pick Justin Thomas. So I'm going to go with him at the top. I'm going to go with DJ second and DeChambeau third. Win place. So So again,
did you see that they are DeChambeauing proof the tournament?
Can't hit it 2 miles now anymore. What's the deal?
There's a hole, and I'm going to get this hole wrong, but I'm just going to give an example.
Okay.
There's a hole that sits next to another hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's the 13th, and what sits parallel to it is the 9th. And the way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to dog leg. It's a severe dog leg around. So you basically have to hit the ball straight, and then to prevent from getting in the water, get it past the water's edge, and then hit it straight again, right? Mm-hmm. So if that makes sense, you're going up and then you're going out. Okay.
Yep.
There is a green over in this area or a fairway over in this area that they're saying that DeChambeau's got the length to hit it over into the 9th, over basically where the crowd sits, and would make for an easy pitch over into the green. And they have outlawed that because they're afraid of him doing it.
Come on, let the guy.
And they're saying it's because the crowd. They're fearful of the crowd getting hit, which is total horse crap. But that's what they're saying. Tony Kornheiser brought up the fact that I guess in the 70s at a U.S. Open, I don't know what the course was, there was a similar situation where they were afraid of some player taking a shortcut. So overnight they built this huge, the way he described it was like this large shed that would block his ability to go over in that area. And the guy just hit it over it anyways, because I guess the guy was just a monster. So DeChambeau's are already getting, they used to call it tiger proofing. Well, now they're Bryson proofing the TPC because they just outlawed it. So anyways, if he shoots it over there, he's going to have to come back to the tee, and he'll be at essentially taking a drop. So he'll be on his third shot.
Can't have fun in any place anymore.
No, it's asinine.
Jesus.
Before we have to run out of here, any big surprises for you with the NFL franchise tags?
Nah, it seemed like less than usual, but I mean, just being a Colts fan who needs a receiver, I was disappointed to see Godwin and Allen Robinson just hop off the market. I don't really know what the Bears are doing, although unless they get Russell Wilson, those rumors keep getting warmer around this side of town because they're just so needy for a quarterback, because they haven't had one really ever in their franchise history since Jim McMahon. They still talk about, but I don't know. I thought it was a short list, so I guess I was a little surprised to see fewer names, but disappointed to see a couple solid receivers jump off the market.
If I'm the Bears, I would mortgage the future to go get Deshaun Watson.
I agree. I mean, the guy, you go with the younger guy who you screwed up by not picking him the first time too. So, I mean, him and Trubisky, they traded up. We all know the story. I agree with you. If Ryan Pace is going to make up and try and keep,
they didn't draft Watson. They didn't draft Mahomes. The same draft.
Yeah. So I mean, you could cancel some wrongdoings if you. It doesn't matter what you give up, like you said. I don't care if it takes 3 first-round picks and a couple of good players or something. You just get your quarterback because you need one.
I don't know what Houston would want, but they named the price. I would freaking do it. It's just as plain as day. I would freaking do it in a minute, because although he's a prima donna, I'm not the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson at this point. I don't like when players start demanding trades, because I'm like, what kind of freaking teammate is this guy going to be? But they have such a piss poor history of drafting that they're gonna waste their stupid draft pick, whatever they pick anyway. So you might as well trade it away. That's my point.
He would be their best quarterback in franchise history. So that's enough right there.
Better than Sid Luckman?
Okay, I'm playing a little tooth and nail there, but you know what I'm saying, at least for the past 20 years.
Jim McMahon, dude.
He got the ring.
He got the ring. I don't think he had anything to do with it, but he got the ring. Let's go ahead and turn back time and do our walk-offs here on another Armchair Quarterback show. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll have Tony Aguilini and we'll have Matt Carr with us. And Tony, of course, our big golf guy. It'll be fun to see his reactions tomorrow morning. Okay, turn back time. All right, so I've read up on this, but since this is the 120th anniversary, this day in 1901, John McGraw, manager of the Baltimore Orioles at the time, of course, he would go on to manage the New York Giants for years, signs a young man by the name of Charlie Grant, trying to pass off the black infielder as a Cherokee Indian, and he named Tuckahoma. So he tried to pass this guy off. The skipper's scheme was basically ruined. What I'm reading off isn't actually factual. What actually happened was everyone got wise to it, including the Chicago White Sox Charles Comiskey, because when they would go out to watch home games in Baltimore, Tuckahoma, Charlie Grant, his friends were coming out and rooting him on, and all of them were African-American. So the cat was out of the bag, and he was the last African-American to play in Major League Baseball until Jackie Robinson re-broke the color barrier in 1947. So that was on this day, 120 years ago. Now that you can cancel culture. That's some garbage. That's some hot garbage right there. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today.
I'm pointing one out specifically today. 41 years old, Mr. Dan Ugla.
Wow.
Finished with a 241 batting average, 235 home runs, 706 RBI, and I'd say most of those home runs and RBI were in his 5-year stint with the Marlins, because when the Atlanta Braves signed him, it was all crap after that. That dude was hitting like below the Mendoza line the entire time he was in Atlanta. It was pathetic. I liked him, and I wanted him to do well. He was a 3-time All-Star somehow, 2006, 2008, 2012. It was late in the 2012 season he started swinging and missing, and they could not get him right. He was also the Silver Slugger Award, believe it or not, in 2010 with the Marlins. That very next year, he would sign a deal to be a Brave, and the rest is crapola down the toilet. He started off the big sell-off that Atlanta went through. 4 or 5 years of just terrible baseball. Thank God we're back to our winning ways. What's your walk-off for the day, sir?
Just to enjoy March Madness. I mean, we got hosed out of it last year, obviously, with COVID. I still remember the tournament games coming down as the day went on, and it was a sad day. So this is, to me,
it was a year ago today.
Unreal. So let's keep things going. Forget the people that tell you we're going to be, hunkered in and wearing masks in 2022. We're seeing the opening. We're getting people into stadiums. We're going to have a fun March Madness, and let's just get it going. There was nothing more boring than seeing college games during the year with no fans, and you just hear the shoes squeaking and the ball dribbling. Let's get the people going crazy. Let's get these stadiums full again. And Texas Rangers are taking that first step with doing full stadiums. So I'm thinking we're going to have a great summer and a good, just a good year, I hope.
It was on this date 1 year ago today that the NBA suspends the 2020 season after Rudy Gobert tests positive for COVID-19. Remember, it was just a couple of days before that he was touching the microphones and acting like a jackass.
Like in the thing, yeah.
Yeah. Real funny guy over here. Real funny guy.
We got a funny guy.
My walk-off is that was the last time I gave a crap about the NBA. Ever since then, I'm just like, whatever, dude. I'm excited today for the March tournament. All of them, the ACC specifically, but I'll get into I'll watch Big Ten. I'm definitely going to watch that Michigan State game. And then the SEC, it really gets rolling tomorrow. So I'm probably going to watch more SEC tomorrow. I'm going to watch the ACC tournament today. If some of these SEC games get close for an upset, I might flip it over. But Duke, Florida State tonight, baby. Go Noles! Let's take down Coach K and his whiny ass about he shouldn't play basketball this year. It's just too tough.
Eliminate him. Finish him.
Yeah, exactly. End them. End them. As they would do in Rome. All right, brother. We'll see you next week. Great job. And TPC today at noon, y'all. Enjoy it. We'll be back tomorrow.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette and please